Okay, so good evening, all of you. Nabil is also here. So, last
Good evening,
class
sir.
that we did, we were uh, discussing about the if statement and the else statement. So, we used the if statement and the if else statement and also the if else if statement. So, all three statements of logical operations or selection operations were done. Okay. Now, what we are going to do is if we are going to use more than one condition to select. Now here we have used one condition here in this if statement. In this if statement also we have used one. Here one. Now let's say I need to use more than one if statement here. More than one condition in an if statement. Okay. What we are going to do. Okay, so let's say I have another variable called b. Let's call this a. Okay, and I'm going to give the value for this as 50. Okay, and another variable c. I'm going to give the variable a value of 35. Okay, now I have three variables here. Now let's say if and the condition I will say first condition is if a is greater than c, I'm going to use two AND symbols, which is going to indicate that this is an AND operator. Okay, and I will say if b is greater than a. Okay, so if this is the case, I'm going to use two curly braces for this. If this is the case, I will say echo both conditions are true. Okay, so this is going to be my statement here. So I'm using the AND operator. Okay, so both the conditions should be true for my answer here to be true. So if I go here and refresh, it says both conditions are true, which means both these conditions, which is a is greater than c and b is greater than a, are true. Now let's say I go for another statement like this. If a is greater than c, b is less than a. Here I'm going to use something called the OR operator, or we can use it with these two bars. Okay, so on top of the shift key, we can use this and say echo one of the condition is true. Semicolon. Okay, when I come and check here, this one of the condition is true. Can you all tell me the code what we can use to bring this down? Yeah, can I write it, and what can I write?
BR, sir.
BR where? Should I just
Yeah.
write this?
Yeah.
So just write it like this, will it work? There's an exception, there's a problem here. What did we do last time? To get the
Sir, near the echo.
yeah?
Near the echo if we type.
Yes, we have to use an echo. Echo dear. Okay, so we got this thing. Now, so we are using two conditions in one. So this is one way of looking at this. Okay, and let's say I have another variable called d. I'm going to give the value 50 for that as well. So here I'm going to say if d is equal to d. Okay, if you are checking equal to, this is going to be the code, double equal sign. Okay, equal to d, then you can say load the value equal. So that also will be the code, semicolon. All right, so that also will be displayed here because that condition is also true. Understand? So these are the conditions that we can use, double conditions, or even more conditions we can use using the AND or operator here. Okay, clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay, can you copy that down? All right. Okay, so I'll go from the beginning. I say this isSet function is going to say check whether a value is given to the variable a. If no value is given, now here we have given the value 45, so this should be true. But if I say not isSet, that means this condition will become false now. Okay, if this is not set, if there is no value set for a, I will say a is equal to 100. Okay, then after we come out of this loop, I will just echo the value of a. Okay, so in this, if I run this code, if any value is not set to a only, 100 will be set to a. Okay, otherwise the normal value of a only will come, which is 45. So we will go and check that. I'm getting 45, which means there was a value already set for a, right? But if I say there's a function called unset, it's a function called unset, which is going to clear whatever the value which is set to the variable that I'm giving inside. If any value is given here, it will unset. That means there's nothing set to a after this statement. Now this condition will become true. Then it will go inside this and set the value 100 to a. When I print a, it will print 100, not 45. It is going to print 100. Okay, unset and isSet, two methods. right? So it's going to let's say this. No. Okay, let's say this, and I'll go here. It's going to give me the value 100 there. So which means this set is going to check if a value is given to a variable, and unset is going to take off the value which is set to any variable. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one, let me come and say if is in is in. I'm going to say check if this is an integer value. Let it be. If b is an integer value, okay, if b is an integer value, I can change the data type. Okay, I can change the data type to another data type using a function called set type. Okay, so I will say set type, and this will have two arguments. One is to which variable am I going to set it up? Okay, and what data type am I going to give it? I'm going to give a string variable. Okay, I'm going to give a string variable, and there is a 1 second. So it says is int. I'm going to check if b is an integer. So this will also return a Boolean value. If this is true, I'm going to set the type or change the type of b to a string. Okay, and there is a thing called get type, which is going to output the data type of the variable that I'm going to use here. In this case, it's b, right? So I'm going to say this is going to become a string here. All right. So I'm going to use the echo br statement here. So because we are getting two outputs, values here. Fine. So in this, if I see, okay, 100 will be output, and the data type is a string, because I saw this is an integer. If this is an integer, change it to a string. That is what I did. Now b is a string, not an integer, which means I cannot do any calculations with b. Understand? So 4 new functions we saw: unset, is set, is int, and set type, and get type. Right? Five new functions we have seen. Okay, can you copy that down and check whether it is working? Did you type this?
Yes, sir. Almost.
Almost. Okay. Finish it. So when we were doing programming, we were discussing something called a case statement. Case statement is when we check only one condition. Okay, when we check only one condition, and I mean like only one variable as a condition, if you are checking, yes, we can use a case statement. But in PHP, when we are using the case statement, uh, we use something called a switch. Okay, we use a uh, function called switch. Inside that one, we can use the case statement, right? So let me say I have only variable a. Okay, in that I'm going to use the statement called switch. In switch, I'm going to write inside the bracket what variable am I going to check. Okay, and I'm going to use the curly braces, and inside this I'm going to say case. Okay, switch and case. Now case means we can say if this is greater than, or if case is greater than 75, what you are going to do. Let's say you echo and say greater than 75. If the case was, that is case means this A, right, is greater than 50, then you echo greater than 50. If the case was, don't type this now itself, there is a small scene that I have to tell you. Greater than 40, and the last statement, usually if none of these conditions are true, what we are going to do, we usually write in the last statement, that is the default. Okay, we call it the default statement. Default, what you do is, if none of these are true, you echo okay. So with the default statement, we are going to end this case. So the switch is a way of writing the case statements in PHP. Now in this case it is 45, so greater than 40 should be executed. Okay, but there is a small problem here. Line 9. So it's greater than symbol. Can't use greater. I use equal. We check that. I can't use equal to. Case is 75. We'll try to use this. Okay, none of the above conditions are true. So I can't use the greater than statement here. So case is 75 needs this. Now if this becomes 45, this becomes 45. Now see what happened here. Greater than 40, greater than 30, none of the above is true. So what happens is, in the case statement, when it satisfies one condition, one condition is satisfied, okay, all the rest of it will be executed even if they are not satisfied. Can you see that 45 is the answer? Okay, here it did not become true, so this 75 did not come, 50 did not come. But when it came to 45, greater than 40 was executed, and greater than 30 is also executed, none of the above is also executed. So I want only greater than 40 to be executed. Okay, so what I do is, after each statement, after each statement, I'm going to use a break. Okay, after each statement, I'm going to use a statement called break. So I'll come down here and say break, which means after that condition is executed, it will break from that part and come out of the logical condition. Even after the default one, you have to have a break. Now if I try to run this, only this one will come. From there it will break and come out of. Understand?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So can you try that out? Okay, so all that we saw now was the selection control structure. And now we are going to move on to the loops. We know we have for loop, while loop, and in PHP, instead of repeatantly, we are going to use for each loop. Okay, for loop, while loop, and for each loop. So the easiest one of these would be the while loop. So we will do that first, and then we will go on to the other loops later, right? So let's loop through values. Let's say I put a dollar sign, the count is equal to 0. And the while loop, when you are writing, you just use the keyword while, and the condition will be coming inside the bracket, just like the if condition. And you will have the curly braces, and inside which this will come. So I will say, while count is less than or equal to 10. While count is less than or equal to 10, what you are going to do is echo count. And you have to increase the value of count, otherwise this will not stop happening. Stop, right? So you have to increase the count by 1. So I can say count equals count plus 1. This is one way of saying it, okay? So this will work. So I will just run this and show. 1 to 2, 1 to 10. It is going to 0 to 10, sorry. 0 to 10 it is going to print without any problem. I don't want it to print in one area like this, so I will just use a concatenation dot, and I say comma and space. So dot operator is going to concatenate it, which means I am going to get values like this. So it's much clearer this way. Okay. So I echoed the count value using this. If I use another way of implementing is to use a double addition symbol. Okay, double plus mark is going to do the same thing. as count equals count plus 1. Okay. The same thing is going to happen when you do that here. Same out. Okay, so count equals count plus 1 is also equal to count plus plus. Both are same. So this is how you write a while loop in PHP. Right? The concatenation operator is the dot operator. And I can concatenate with a comma mark with this. Alright, fine. Can you write this down and see whether it is working? So we know the output of this code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this was our output, right? Now I want you to write a code to get this output. I want you to write a code or change this code in such a way your output should be like this. Can you all try?
Okay, sir.
1, 2, 3, 4, when it comes to 5, it should represent 5. Then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, normal way. Can you all try that? Do you need more time?
Almost there, sir, but can't figure it out.
There is an if condition there. Right.
What, sir?
There is an if condition that you have to use.
Yeah. Still, there's something. I'm getting a 5 at the end of the number sequence, like not in the middle.
Okay. It's a little bit of adjustment.
Yeah, sir.
What happened to SAD? You see all this time, now it's not there. Okay, shall we do this? Okay, so we just have to put a small if condition here. Let's say if this count is equal to 5. If this count is equal to 5, you echo 5. Okay, else you do this. That's it. When you're coming here, when it is to 5, it will output this, not this. Okay, 5, and we say a comma as well. Otherwise, the comma will not come after 5. Okay, now if I go and check this, I'll be getting 5. Understand?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
5, comma, and a space. Now, what I want you to do next is, you can see in the output, we are getting a comma after 10. Comma after 10. I don't want that comma. Can you modify the code and tell me? Okay?
Okay, sir.
After doing
Just to remove the comma.
this, just to remove the last comma. Last one. After
Okay.
10, I don't want a comma.
Okay.
Sir, I did one.
Yeah?
I did one with try see if there is correct, sir.
Okay. Finish here. Now we do it. I'm going to say else if dollar count is equal to 10. If this is equal to 10, what we are going to do is this. I'm going to say echo that's it. This was the last amount, last value. You can say this, or else if you can say uh, the same condition here. then also it will work. So let's try that. Last full stop, last comma is gone. That's it. If this is equal to 5, do this. If this is equal to 10, do this. Just echo the value, that's it. Otherwise, you do this.
Sir, if this is equal to 5, okay, sir. If this is equal to 10, what have you done, sir? Echo count? Just nothing.
Now 10,
Yeah.
it will echo 10. That's it. After that, it will not put a full stop there.
Like from there, it's finished like that.
In all the other cases, you have a comma.
Comma.
Only
Okay.
for 10, you don't have a comma. That's it. And do the same thing as this, but
Sir. Sir, then if we change the number there, 10, if we make 5, the 5 won't have a comma.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, copy that down. Now we will do the for loop after this. Just finish it and put a message. Okay. Printing from 1 to 10 using a for loop. Okay, now unlike the while loop, the for loop is somewhat different. Okay, in this, we get the initial value of count to 0 separately, right? Separately, before the while loop started, we gave the initial value of count, and then only we started writing the count or the while loop, right? But in the case of for loop, it has a separate structure. I will show you the structure. Structure looks like this. The for loop, you have for, okay, and inside this, initialization will come. Then the condition will come. And then the increment will come. And after that only inside that what statement you have to write will come with a semicolon. So this will be the structure of the for loop. So the initialization, the condition checking, and the increment, everything happens inside the bracket. So if anybody have a knowledge of C programming language or Java programming language, this will be a familiar structure. Okay, we don't use this in even in Python, right? This kind of structure will be used in Java as well as C or C Sharp, whatever the versions of C. Okay, so I will show you in the code how this is going to work. I will just erase this off. This is the while loop. I don't need a initialization saying count equals 0 because I'm going to use that in my for loop itself. There's a for, and inside the for loop, I will initiate the count variable to 0. That is my first step. After the comma, the condition. Until this count variable is less than or equal to 10. That is my condition. Until this condition is true, you repeat this, and every time you loop, you increment the value of count by 1. This is my fault. Understand what is coming inside this?
Yes,
The
sir.
initial value, then you tell the condition when it should go in. If that condition is true, it will go into the loop, and then count equals count plus 1 or count plus plus will give you an increment of 1. Okay, so in this I will just say echo count, then I will have a comma, this semicolon. That is my statement, right? So if I save this and start running, oops, semicolon somewhere I have this. Did I miss the semicolon somewhere? Oh, sorry. During initialization, when I give a value, I have to end that with a semicolon. The condition and this one, the condition also I need a semicolon, not a comma. Sorry. It should be a semicolon. Semicolon, and this, yes. Sorry about that. Not a comma here, it should be a semicolon. Then we run this. So I'm getting the same output as value. I can give that if condition and remove this bracket, remove this comma, or the 5, anything I can do. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Fine. Write that down. The next loop that we are going to see will be the for each loop. Okay. So this for each loop is a separate type of loop. Okay, unlike the for loop or the while loop, for each loop will work only on arrays. Okay, we are going to work only on arrays. So if you are going to run through an array for each value, if you want to do something, you can use that using the for each loop. Okay, so I will just create an array of values first. So to create an array in PHP, let's say I have a variable called ages. It is an array, and I'm going to give the values of the ages or in integers, say 18, 20, 65, 40, 85, 32, 16, 15, 14. Okay, so I have a set of values for this array. So I have declared an array called ages, and I'm going to go through this array using the for each loop. So I can say for each, you can see it here, for each, and in this I'm going to take the value of each element of ages. Now I'm going to take it as, I can give a temporary value inside this as age. Okay, so I'm going to take the values of the array ages and put it to the variable age. Okay, temporarily, just for that loop. Okay, then I will take 18 and assign it to age, and I will do the work with age, and then when I go back, I will go and take the value 20 from age and put it to ages and age, and then take the value from 65 from ages, put it to age, and then move like that. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to do something like this. I'm just going to output the values of the array just as it is. So I'm going to say echo. I have to output the value age. I have to output the value age. I concatenate that with a comma. And we will see whether all these ages are going to come as an output. Right? So I will just go here and like this. 18, 20, 65, 40, 85, 32, 16, 15, 14. All my ages are coming out. So each element from the array will be taken and it will be printed. That's all. So this is the for each loop and for each loop, and it works only on arrays. This is how you declare an array in PHP, and this is how you use the for each loop. Understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, you copy this down and then I'll give you a small exercise on this.
Sir, 2 minutes.
Yeah?
No, sir, 2 minutes. Writing. Copy.
Okay, right? Okay, here's the exercise. You have to go through this array using the for each loop. Okay? If the age is less than 20, if the age is less than 20, you have to output the message, this is a student. Otherwise, you have to output the message, this is an adult. Understand?
Yes.
Okay. Same set of arrays. If it is less than 20, you should mention it's a student. Otherwise, it's an adult. Okay? Right? Just have to say if the age is greater than 20 or less than 20. What do? You echo student. And I'm going to echo another one saying DR so that the next one comes in the next line. Okay? Else echo this is an adult and echo DR. Okay, so I can use that here and say this is a student, this is an adult. And I can even mention something like this. This is a student. His age is $8. Okay, so I got two concatenations here. Okay, it's the same thing here. So which is going to say student and his age is 18. Adult and his age is 20. Adult 60, 80, 35. 16 is a student, 15 is a student, 14 is a student. Correct?
Okay, sir.
Right. So can you copy that down? Okay, now let's look at a statement for continue and break. We saw this continue and break in when we were doing Python as well. So how it is used in this is not very different, just like the normal thing that we use in Python. So I'm going to use a Let me say I'm going to use the same for each loop for this. Let's say I don't want to output the ages of the adults. Only the children's age I want to output, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if age is greater than 20, you continue. Okay? Else what you're going to do is you're going to output age. I'll concatenate that with count. So what I'm doing with continue is if you come across an age, don't do anything age which is greater than 20. Don't do anything. Just go to the next one. That is what they are saying with continue. So don't do anything with that age. Just go to the next one. Don't do. Only the ages which is less than 20 you are going to output here. Okay. So if I save this and run, you can see 18, 20, 16, 15 and 14. Okay, 18, 20, 16, 15 and 14 are the outputs that I'm getting. All the other ages which are greater than 20 will not appear here. Okay, understand?
So in the previous one, 20 was shown as an adult.
Yeah. In the previous one, if the age is greater than less than 20, we said age is less than 20 means student. So if that condition is false, it will become an adult.
Okay, sir.
Now I'm going to use the break statement as well. I'm going to use the same sort of for loop here. And I'm going to say if the age is greater than 20, you break. So I'm going to use echo break here so that it will come in the next line. So what I'm doing in the break statement is you just come out of the loop. You don't continue. If you come across an age which is greater than 20, just come out of the loop. That's it. Okay. So if you run this code, after 20, if you come, next one is 65, right? As soon as it sees 65, it will come out of the loop and it will not go back to the loop. That is the difference between break and continue. Understand?
Yes, sir.
Right. Can you copy that down?